Do you ever notice the family court has got a weird, sort of very strange dating standard? If you're emotional, angry, or frustrated, desperate to see your child, you're high conflict. But if you stay calm, polite, stoic, measured, compliant, everyone assumes that you're fine with seeing your child twice a month in a Costa coffee, supervised by Sharon with a clipboard. And that's the catch-22. You're expected to remain emotionally regulated while your relationship with your own child is slowly being converted into an administrative inconvenience. And the longer you stay calm, the more the system mistakes your restraint for acceptance. The status quo is the real opponent. A lot of fathers think they're fighting against allegations or Cafcass or an ex-partner. Half the time, what they're really fighting is inertia. The temporary arrangement becomes the permanent arrangement because the court systems move slower than a depressed tortoise wearing Crocs. 3 months become 6, 6 months become 12. And then suddenly somebody says, well, the child's settled now into current routines. Of course they have. Kids adapt to whatever adults force them to adapt to. That doesn't mean it was healthy. It means the children are psychologically designed to survive instability better than adults are. And here's the dangerous bit. The court often interprets silence as stability. If you don't challenge delays properly, the system quietly assumes everyone seems to be managing. Is everything good? Meanwhile, you're sat there emotionally dying in silence because you're told, stay calm. Don't react. Don't give them what they're asking for. Don't give me ammunition, which is partly true. But some fathers misunderstand stoicism completely. Way out there. Stoicism is not passive surrender. Marcus Aurelius wasn't sitting there journaling while Rome burned, going, it is what it is. The dangerous myth of be easy to manage. A lot of dads enter family court thinking, if I'm reasonable enough, eventually someone will notice. Mate, come on. Family court professionals are overloaded, risk-focused, politically cautious, and drowning in paperwork. Nobody's sat there going, oh, yes, this father, he's behaved himself impeccably. 8 months, he's been so good. Let's reward him with justice. No, that's not how systems work. Systems respond to pressure, not emotional pressure, procedural pressure. And that's the shift fathers need to understand. But you don't, because no one teaches it. No one tells you. You don't win by becoming emotionally louder. Yeah, you win by becoming procedurally unavoidable. That's strategic calm. And strategic calm is loud on paper, but calm in person. That's where the fathers get it wrong and they get confused. They think that only options are stay silent and get ignored, or speak up emotionally and get labeled difficult. No. There's a third option, yeah? And the only people that seem to know about it are the people that I work with, work for. Become the calmest man in the room, always, while your paperwork quietly screams. That's the move. Not emotional outbursts, not ranting in hearings, not sending 12 paragraphs of WhatsApp at 1:14 a.m. Professional, relentless, documented pressure. Position statements, chronologies, polite follow-up emails, clear objections, requests for timelines, child-focused concerns. You stop acting like an emotional victim and start acting like an operator. And this is what's known as the polite agitator strategy. This is the skill nobody teaches fathers, yeah? How to be persistent without appearing hostile. Because yes, perception matters in family court, whether we like it or not. That's just how it is. Yeah, you can't walk into hearings radiating, I've watched 6 hours of family court content and now I'm declaring war on the judiciary. No. That energy scares professionals. Yeah, it'd scare your kid. But you also cannot become so agreeable that your child slowly disappears from your life while everyone pats you on the back and compliments your emotional regulation. So what do? What is it you do? You become, ready for this? You become professionally inconvenient. And that's different. That's really different. So let me give you an example. Instead of, this is disgusting, Cafcass are biased, you're all biased, you're all anti-man. Given, you say this, you write this, given the length of time the child has now been under interim arrangements, I respectfully request clarification regarding the anticipated progression towards final recommendations, as prolonged delay risks solidifying a limited parent-child relationship before findings have been fully tested. The same difference, same concern, different delivery. One sounds reactive and the other sounds composed, child-focused, and difficult to dismiss. Yeah, so family court is weird, really weird, as if you didn't know. Sometimes the father who looks calmer wins credibility over the father who feels more pain. Yeah, that's the reality. Why emotional control is tactical and not a weakness. This part matters. Yeah, because remaining calm does not mean you're happy. It doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you're accepted injustice. It doesn't mean you don't care. It means you understand something emotionally immature people don't. Power leaks through emotion, especially in adversarial systems. Every angry email becomes evidence. Every outburst becomes concern. Every frustrated reaction becomes a new side quest nobody needed. And the brutal truth, some people absolutely know this and provoke fathers intentionally. Because if they can make you emotionally dysregulated, guess what? They no longer have to address your actual argument. Now, the conversation becomes his tone. Classic diversion tactic. That's why strategic fathers learn emotional discipline. Not because the system deserves your calm, but because your child deserves your effectiveness. And that's a big difference. So how do we challenge delay without looking high conflict? Here's the key distinction. High conflict people create chaos. Strategic advocates create records. That's it. It's that simple. A strategic father follows up consistently, requests updates politely, asks for timelines, documents missed progression, but references the child's welfare, is selfless, stays factual, avoids insults, avoids mind reading, avoids emotional theatrics. If you're trying, and you're not trying to win emotionally, you're building a professional trail that quietly says, this father remained composed while consistently advocating for his child despite delay. That matters because eventually, guess what? Patterns become visible. And if they don't become visible immediately, and trust me, they don't always become immediately a bit visible, you still protect your credibility, which in family court is basically oxygen. The real psychological battle, honestly, the hardest part of family court isn't legal, isn't psychological, the helplessness, the waiting, the uncertainty, the feeling that your child's life is moving without you. That's what breaks a man. Not one hearing, not the accumulation. And the temptation becomes, maybe if I explode, somebody will finally just listen. But explosions very rarely create progress. They create paperwork about the explosion. And that's the trap. The system often handles emotional reactions faster than it handles emotional pain. That line alone will upset people because they know it's true. And if anything you take from this video, take this mindset shift. It's a mindset shift. Your goal is not to become the father professionals like. Your goal is to become impossible to ignore professionally while remaining emotionally disciplined personally. And that balance, that's the balance, not passive, not aggressive, strategic. Because the fathers who survive this process long term are usually the ones who learn two skills simultaneously: how to regulate emotion and how to apply pressure intelligently. One without the other is dangerous. Family court can make good men feel powerless, but there's a difference between being powerless and being undisciplined. You may not control the delays. You may not control the allegations. You may not control the pace of the system, but you absolutely control your reactions, your documentation, your consistency, your credibility, your conduct. And ironically, this is so funny, the calmer you become internally, the sharper you can become strategically. That's the real game, not screaming louder, learning how to fight without losing yourself in the process. If you've experienced this Catch-22 yourself, I'm sure many of you have, where staying calm got mistaken for acceptance or speaking up got labeled as conflict, put your experience in the comments. Not emotional chaos, not rage, just the reality. Because a lot of fathers are realizing now that they're not crazy. They're navigating a system where silence and emotion can both be used against you if you don't learn strategy. And if you want to learn strategy and want to understand more about this, then feel free to get in touch, because this is why my people that I work for and support get success more often than not, because they follow the strategy. And if they don't get success from this strategy, it's because they've done wrong in the first place. That's what you need to remember. I can't control the outcomes. I can't control whether people are telling me the truth or not. But if you follow this process, the courts understand, and you will see. Till next time, buongiorno.